The Magnificent Battle, Merlin, Arthur's Court, and the Mistress of Time by The Magus, read by The Magus. Chapter 14, Pot Roast. Even the most rabid Tennessee fan gets tired. In the same way, the girls were running out of energy, but for whatever reason, the dragon seemed to be calmed by the girls' singing. After finishing 6 or 8 renditions of Rocky Top, Krysta had them switch over to the Carolina fight song. The dragon actually sat down in front of them when they did so. He seemed to like that song because he then lay down and put his large serpentine head on the ground and listened. "We've got to keep singing," Ashur said between repeated verses. "Rah, rah, rah." "I can't," Krysta said. "I'm exhausted." "Would you rather be exhausted alive or a pot roast dead?" Ashur panted between, "Well, I'm a Tar Heel born and Tar Heel bred, and when I die I'll be Tar Heel dead." Krysta faltered on the part about Tar Heel dead. "Let's go back to Rocky Top. I don't like the part about being Tar Heel dead," Ashur suggested. "I can't do it anymore. I don't care if he eats us." "Well, I do," said an indignant Ashur. "I don't want to end up like a fried chicken to be served as a luncheon delicacy for an imaginary beast." But she knew that she too was running out of energy, and if she quit singing, she had no other ideas for how to stay alive. She was near desperation, as the singing, clapping, dancing, and anxiety of the situation had her puffing for breath, even as she sang. Then, as if things couldn't get worse, they did. The dragon began to get restless, as if he were getting hungry, or perhaps if he heard something in the distance. He stood up, looked around, sniffing the air, and turned his head from side to side as if listening. The smoke, which had diminished into a tiny whiff, began drifting up between his horrible nostrils, at first like the smoke of a campfire, then like the smoke of a forest fire. "Something's going on," Krysta said. "He seems upset." The dragon opened his mouth, and fire rolled up his horrible cheeks. The girls watched as the dragon circled around them, always keeping one of his flat-pupiled yellow-orange eyes firmly fixed on Ashur as he moved. They fell silent in despair. They closed their eyes and hugged each other in preparation for the worst. It seemed so unfair that they should be put into a situation to confront a dragon the size of a large dinosaur, with nothing to fight with but their wits and their singing voices. They could feel the heat from the dragon's mouth. They could tell from the force of his breath that he was closing in on them. "Goodbye, Ashur," Krysta said in a sad whisper. They waited to be barbecued. They waited, and they waited. Neither of them wanted to open an eye, so they just waited. Finally, Krysta ventured a look toward the dragon and found that he had turned and was facing away from them. He was, in fact, looking at something moving in the distance. "Look," she whispered to Ashur, not wanting to attract the attention of the dragon. Ashur heard the yells and clanking before she saw what appeared to be a knight on a horse, carrying a lance as he rode across the field toward them. The man was exceptionally strange. He had on dented, rusty armor. They could not understand what he was yelling, only that he was doing so as he spurred his horse on as quickly as it could run toward them and the very attentive dragon. The dragon roared as the knight approached, with his lance held out toward him. Flames spewed from the mouth of the dragon as he moved away from the girls toward the open field to confront the attacking man. He reared back on his hind legs and let out a deafening roar. Flames flew, scorching the grass. The horse veered off to his right to avoid the fire. It was obvious that the knight was mindless of the flame. He spurred his horse back toward the dragon. The dragon crouched as if to pounce on the knight when he got closer. The knight kept coming. The dragon made an amazingly quick move to his right, like a matador, avoiding a charging bull. The horse and knight went off to his side. The dragon then whipped his tail and spun around. He caught the knight from the side, not with great force, but just enough. The knight fell from the horse to the ground. The dragon held his head to the sky and blew a pillar of fire, as if it were a howl of victory over a defeated adversary. The girls watched the whole encounter with awe. They were amazed at the determination of the knight, and even more so by the quick, nimble movements of the dragon. Now, however, they watched with horror. The fallen knight was lying on the ground, struggling to get to his feet. Try as he liked, the weight of the armor and the impact of landing on the ground, which had knocked the breath from him, had taken its toll. The dragon approached the knight, as he had approached them. "I can't imagine being roasted inside one of those metal suits," Krysta said. "This is horrible," Ashur said in agreement. The fallen knight was rolling down a small incline, groping for an angle, a stump, anything that would help bring him back to his feet. It was clear that the knight was entirely vulnerable, and if the dragon wanted to put an end to their game, he could do so now. But his hesitation grew into a long pause. "I wonder if he's going to bake that knight for supper," Krysta speculated, "instead of us." Ashur continued her sentence. Just when it looked the bleakest for the night, there was a sound of horns. Girls and dragon looked to the side of the field nearest the river. Coming out of the forest at the far end of the field was a small army of about a dozen knights charging across the grass, with all their lances feutred, that is, in their holders. The dragon looked at the knight struggling on the ground, then back to Ashur, the hope of his future, then back to the dozen knights charging. He could have vanquished the knights, but he was not eager to harm anyone, including the unhorsed knight. Then, more quickly and more nimbly than the girls could have imagined, he bounded out of the other side of the field. The girls watched him go. They breathed a sigh of relief. The dragon was gone for now, but that would not be the last they would see of the famous or infamous dragon known as Gladysant.